super nice to meet you all. And after that super nice presentation, it's emotional to come and speak in here. But let's try to get a little bit more excited. Fantastic. So I think I tried to tell a story where I get my inspiration. What kind of things. And actually there's an interesting thing what Evelyn just talked, because does it... Thank you. So I think this is for sure my biggest hero ever. Extremely interesting person. I don't know, I think everybody of us has a different opinion on him, because I think nobody has met the guy himself. For me, he is almost like a Leonardo da Vinci kind of person. He created so many things. This picture you already saw before. This is the torpedo boat done in 1890s, Cushing TP1. You see a really interesting hull shapes. He did all the engines inside himself. They created as, basically you take all my lines already, but they created all the things into the factory. So that kind of mindset of create that kind of things is just fascinating. And that has been something that I read all the books of him, just a massive interest of me. And if somebody hasn't read his books, go and try to find them. Super interesting stuff. In my speech today, there will be 2 mistakes. I hope that you will notice them. We can discuss them later. But there's a few things, so at least you are somehow involved. So this is one of the catamarans. There was Amaryllis and Tarantella. I think it's 1876. And I'm always thinking that if somebody from the sailing group of people would say that catamarans are not allowed, where we would be. Basically, they were banned after that because they were too fast. That was the fastest human-made machine in that time. Faster than the trains or horse carriage or anything. So that was the pinnacle of the engineering in that time. That was before Wright brothers made the airplanes. So that was the thing. He was absolutely obsessed, new technology, things, stuff. Then next thing what is interesting for me, when I get access, well, I learned to speak English when I was maybe 23. I didn't do any schools as a young boy. I started to study a little bit later. And when I learned English and then internet came as well, I found a National Committee of Aeronautics, so NACA. NACA is the basically before NASA. Before they went to space, it cost NACA. And that was something that was a big source of resources, inspiration for me, because you find all the step hull studies, what they have done, how they've created, what kind of things, and they are online. You can search. There's the same goes with the, of course, you find all the tables, all the numbers, what they have calculated. And then, of course, you get all the wing shapes, profiles, what make the keels, rudders, so the NACA profiles. Then a little bit different kind of things what inspire me. It's a little bit more, let's say, aggressive. It's a Navy stuff. And in here, this is the biggest ever built foiling ship. It's about 70 meters long. It has about 2 times 40 megawatt of power. Gas turbines, goes about 70 knots. And first, hydrofoils were done about 120 years ago in Italy. This is like 60 years after, in the same time when we went to moon. But we realized that it's not efficient enough to use foils in that as a heavy machines. But for me, those were still super exciting. The other thing what the Navy also did was a project like this. This is a monitor. It was done with the Baker. It's a quite interesting guy as well. But they created this kind of foiling sailing boat already in 1950s. It needed to tow to the speed, so it didn't start foiling from the water itself. So you had to give them a small push, and then it was almost like a glider plane. But those things, they are open. You can find all the numbers, studies, how they are done. They are in the museums. Then we go one step further, and I think now we get like a super interesting stuff, skunk works. Maybe some of you have heard about the skunk works. It was basically a special group who is making custom products for some, let's say, again, military things, unfortunately. But I think everybody knows that iconic Blackbird SR-71, fantastic tool. It was made from titanium. In the ground, when you fill it up with the fuel, between the titanium panels, it was leaking gasoline, so all the fuel came out. And when you start driving super high altitude, it gets so hot that it expands, and then it seals everything up. But also those massive turbines, ramjets, what they have, they grow about 10 inches in a full speed. So the amount of scaling what happens in there is massive. And those guys, they always had a super tight time frame and budget, and they had to do these kind of things. And for me, those studies, things, engineers, human possibility to make things. I'm not taking a stand why this has done. I'm just talking about engineering because that's interest of me. And there's something else in the same era, SP-70 Valkyria. I think it's fantastic. It had the same kind of nose that then later Concorde did, that it tips down. The wingtips fall down when it's in a certain altitude. 2 of those were made. It was an interesting time. 1960s, there was a lot of development. Then I want to go a little bit of as humans or individuals, because those are really important in here. And we jump in the other side of the pond, we go in Japan. So maybe somebody has heard name Kotaro Horiuchi. He was the head of design in Yamaha, fanatic of making foiling boats. He did this kind of scooters that fly in the water. And basically, that was his life, just trying to make super. But he also did rowing boats, tried to break the rules how the rowing boats are done. So if you want to make a faster rowing boat than anybody other, check his book. There's all the information how to make a super fast rowing boats. I mean, these kind of persons are important, who does make stuff. Then we have different authors like Marseille. I think he is a British, Polish guy who just an avid sailor. And he did all the key books of sails and aerodynamics. And for me, the interesting story about this, that when I was born in the middle of Finland, in a small village, middle of the forest. When I moved out from there, learned to speak English, I could travel, I was 23 or something, and I went to Rome, a city of love, and for me the love is about the boats. So there's one shop that sells only books of nautical things. There's nothing else. And I went there and bought all the things what I can find. And all the Hereshoff books, there was 5 of those, Mr. Marsize books, what are super difficult to get. And I mean, the point what I'm saying that the people who make these books, there's no financial reason for them to make them, but they are super important, like persons for us. Then we go a little bit further in the individuals, and it's about Moth is a good example. It's basically free class of sailing boats, and it's driven by individuals. They create something, there's a big group of people, they make a small adjustments, they progress, they copy, steal, make it again, and they make better. And I think this is for us, as everybody in here, really important, that our only reason to be here is to do something. And whatever you do, it has a value. And those individual things what we do, they pile as a big understanding and growth of understanding. So whatever you do, keep doing that, it's helpful. Quite often it's told with the certain names, like a Hereshoff, but he has also friends who did something where he took his inspiration. Rules, this is difficult for me. I absolutely hate rules. I don't understand them at all. And that's the picture of that time. And I would like to hear the story from Nat himself, what he would be thinking of rules. He created some rules, he won in the rules. Here's the Defender versus Valkyrie 2. I don't know what the guy is saying, something positive for sure. But in that time, Hereshoff, who designed the Defender in the left, he said that by that rule, it's not going to be a good boat, but it's going to be a winning boat. And for me, when I see this historically beautiful, what now I'm going to basically murder myself in here, but I will say it anyways. So the classical lines of the super yachts are basically made to cheat the rule. There's nothing else than that. So the long overhangs, that beautiful lines are just made to cheat the rule. And that's something that I always think. So I would like to see what kind of boat Natal Hereshoff would make if there wouldn't be a rule, if there would be an open class, if somebody would say, make me the fastest boat, it would be totally different. And that's something what I want to always understand. Rules, we are currently in here in boating. That's roughly, that's from the last campaign, that's American Magic. This is where we are currently. And it's interesting to think, is this a boat or plane or what is it? But this is still where we are now. We have to accept that. Now I will say a few words what we do in our company. I think we are really unknown company. We have about 2,200 square meters of office space here in Helsinki, a big in old Henry Ford factory. We have 90 employees there from 21 different nationalities. We hire people around the globe. We transfer them in Helsinki with their families, and we make things. About half of our things are boats. We have about, we have currently 130-meter sailing boat in a design, 100-meter motor yacht in build, 85-meter motor yacht in a build, 34-meter full carbon, hopefully super exciting sailing boat in a build. We have about 20 small boats in the same time in a build. And so we design about, let's say, 30 projects a year. The boats what we have designed, they build about 3,000 units a year. So that's about the impact what we have currently. A few examples are Collapse 150 as a styling wise, Axopar, what is currently fastest growing boat brand in the world, Candela, the full electric foiling motorboat. This is a 77-meter fedship what we designed. And that's basically what we do. And I don't know, was there anything what you can get from this speech, but I hope you get something.